Thanks for being here for this Working with France session. So we are Film France, the French National Film Commission. I'm Stéphane Bender, the CEO of Film France, and I'm here with my colleagues Laurie Aide and Johanna Laure-Blanchet. We're going to talk later about the tax rebate, but first a few things about Film France. Film France basically is your one-stop shop for working in France or working with France. We are here to provide you information about almost everything that is linked to France, working permits, shooting permits, co-producers, line producers, talents. All questions you have, we're going to ask to them totally free of charge. And we are really here for you, to help you to find a way to make your work with France a success. We are working with a network of 34 film commissions, local film commissions, which are all around France, mainland France and overseas. What is very interesting for you and what the reason why you are here is obviously this one, is that we are also giving information and assessing the applications for the tax rebate for international production. The tax rebate for international production is the French incentive for projects which are not French. And now I'm going to leave my colleagues Laurie and Johanna tell you everything that you have to know about this incentive.
Thank you, Stéphane. Just for your information, there is a special code and you will find all the presentation about the tax rebate online, so don't hesitate. So in France, activity is in full swing. We are welcoming a lot of foreign shooting right now. Currently, an ambitious American series is shooting in studio in the city of Marseille, and one of British famous feature film is shooting a few miles away. So as Stéphane was saying, we are assisting producers to apply for the trip. Basically, there are two ways of working with France. Maybe you know, through official co-production. All state French subsidies go through a co-producer, and there are a lot of dedicated co-production schemes in France. And you can go through the tax rebate for international production, which we are here for, which a production services company, a French one, and you can get 30 or 40% tax rebate on all your eligible spends. So today we are talking about the tax rebate for international production. And what is a trip, Johanna?
Okay, so the trip, the tax rebate for international production, amounts 30% on all your eligible spends, and it can go up to 40% with the 10% VFX bonus. We'll talk about it later on. Basically, all kinds of scripted projects are eligible, except documentaries and commercials. In order to get the trip, you must work with a French production services company, and your expenses are eligible the moment you send the application, you submit your application to the CNC, the French National Center of Cinema. Laurie, can you tell us the criteria?
It's very easy. You have to spend a minimum of 250,000 euro in eligible spends, or half of your total budget, whichever is the lowest. For live action projects, you have to shoot 5 days in France minimum. And of course, for animation, VFX projects, there is no minimum days of shooting in France. You have to pass cultural tests, but it's pretty easy to pass. Don't be worried about that. Just to give you a few examples of the diversity of the projects that are eligible for the trip: the Mission Impossible Fallout, the Hunger Games, the French Dispatch, now in Cannes, the Minions, Stillwater, and Emily in Paris. For VFX, we have Blade Runner 2049 and, for example, American Gods.
So what is eligible? Basically, everything below the line is not capped. That means that expenditures for technical goods and services based in France are not capped, including VFX, animation and post-production facilities. Renting location and constructing sets are not capped. Transport of materials and depreciation of expenses. For the above the line, the salaries and wages of French and European direction and production staff are not capped, whereas the salaries and wages of French or European writers and actors are capped. Same for accommodation, catering, and travel. This is capped.
Thank you, Joanna. You have to focus. The most important rule is the more you spend, the more you will get. For example, if you plan to spend, let's say, €1 million in France, but at the end you change your mind and you spend twice more, you will get more rebates. There is a €30 million cap, but which means you will have had €100 million in eligible expenditure. So if you have such a project, you are very welcome. The big news is that you can now reach 40% on all your eligible spends if you get the 10% VFX related bonus. Joanna, can you tell us more?
Yes, the 10% VFX bonus goes for all the projects that are spending more than 2 million in eligible VFX related expenses, except for animation projects. A VFX intensive is 15% of the shots or 1.5 shots per minute on the whole project, including VFX expenses. And the most important thing is that when you get 40%, it's not only on VFX expenditures, but in the whole expenditures of the project. Eligible expenditures, of course.
So that was a quick one. So we're gonna have a Q&A just after it, so we will be able to ask all the questions that you may have. But before this, we have the pleasure to welcome among us two producers who are using the trip currently. So we have among us Robert Rippberger and Ilan Urroz. Robert Rippberger, you are the executive producer of a project called The Inventor, and Ilan, you are the production service company who applied for the trip in France. So may you please stand up and answer to my few questions. It won't be long, don't worry.
Thank you.
So my first question obviously will be about The Inventor. Robert, what is The Inventor?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having us. The Inventor is a stop-motion film that we're doing with Marion Cotillard, Daisy Ridley, Stephen Fry, and Matt Berry. It's a film about Leonardo da Vinci in the later part of his life, a mixture of 2D and stop motion. It is written and directed by Jim Capobianco, who wrote Ratatouille. And what really we went a whole series of countries looking at where to do this, and ultimately it led to Ilan and to France, and it's really been a perfect fit. We've been in production and pre-production on it since October.
And maybe to complete the panorama of The Inventor, may I ask you, Ilan, what is Folioscope? What is your studio?
Thank you. Folioscope is stop motion, mainly stop motion, but we also do 2D studio based in Valence, little city near Lyon. So we are not in Paris because we need a lot of space for making stop motion feature films. And we do feature films, TV shows, TV series, shorts, commercial. And we are making with The Inventor the third feature film in stop motion for France. There is only 4 stop motion film made in France, so we are very, very happy to be the first studio dedicated to stop motion in France.
And so you applied for the trip for The Inventor. My first question will go to you, Ilan, because as you understood, it's the French production service company who's applying for the trip, was to make all the paperwork, which is not a big one. And my first question to you, Ilan, will be, was it difficult? Was it long? Was it horrible to do?
Yes. No, I'm kidding. No, all the team of Film France is very, very close to us to apply and to advise of all the rules, all the paper you need. So that's amazing because all that team are very, very close to us. We can have a phone call, we can have email, chat, a meeting. And so I don't remember, I think it was 3 weeks In 3 weeks we apply, and the 4 week we have the response. Okay, you have the trip. So it's amazing because in 1 month you apply and you have the response of Film France and CNC, and you have 30% of tax rebates. So for a big budget of a feature film, it's very important because, as Robert says, you have plenty of services in Europe, but for France, you have talented people with a lot of skill moving around the world to make sets, to make for our business, making props, making puppets, making light, DOP, and it's amazing because in 1 month, yeah, you won a lot of millions.
And there's another thing when we were just talking just before the session. You said that what is really cool for you and your crew is that the European workers, the European crews, are eligible.
Yeah, because of, you know that in every production you have plenty of talents coming from not only France, coming from UK, coming from Spain, Portugal, Italy, all the countries. And in our example, we have more or less 100 people dedicated for animation and stop motion in the world. And mainly are 70% based in Europe, but in every country in Europe. So when you hire a talent and a technician from Spain, you have accommodation incentives with the trips, so you can hire them, and all the costs are decreased for 30%. So that's very, very interesting. And for the technician, it's also interesting because we have a lot of social services in France for technicians, so you have a quality of life and quality of work very interesting for this kind of talents.
And I would simply add something is that Ilan mentioned UK, and most of you think, okay, but there is something called the Brexit. Just realize that for us, considering the trip, UK is a part of Europe, which means that an English talent will still be eligible, and even for the points, the dramatic points, you can say that if the story is taking place in the UK, this is considered as an European location for us until now. So, Robert, may I ask you if this 30% tax rebate was decisive in your decision of working with Ilan, or was it? Does it really bring you something, matter of production value and things like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to finance a film, even with a team as strong as ours. And so it's really almost a necessity for where we ultimately are doing the production. I mean, 30% is significant for your overall finance plan, and so it was a huge piece. As I'm sure you all know, there's other tax programs, but few talent as strong as here in France. And in addition to meeting Ilan and the team that he's assembled, that was really the final piece. And also our film takes place in France, and so we really felt it was organic and the right thing to do. The final point is that the trip program is so dependable that for financiers, for doing GAP, the letter is strong enough. We don't have to add additional costs to have an outside auditor approve. I obviously deal a lot with tax credits in the States. Sometimes they change year by year. This is a really dependable program that really helped us set our finance plan and bring our whole team around it.
To simply to be clear, at this day as I'm talking, the trip will last at least until the end of 2024, because in the French law you cannot make it forever. You have to have a final line. But when we saw that the final line was too close, we made the law change to put it to 2024, and I'm almost sure that, and I'm sure, totally sure in fact, that next year it will be 2025 or 2026. It's one of the strengths of the trip is that it's totally reliable, and that the French government really is behind it. Really, they know that this is an efficient scheme that brings really something to the French industry, and this makes things possible that maybe wouldn't happen if this scheme wouldn't exist. So maybe you have some questions now for Ilan and Robert, or more generally about the trip.
I have a very American question. One, when do you get the money? Two, do you have an organization, or are there organizations that will advance the money, given the fact that you're so trustworthy that you're going to pay us, I don't know, 6 months after the film is done? Can we get the money next week?
So you didn't get the money yet because you applied only. Yes, almost. No, the fact is that the money goes to the French production service company because it's a rebate on its corporate income tax. And in France, and I don't know if I guess it's the same in most of countries, you have a fiscal year. I mean, you know, and you have a fiscal birthday, which is the day you decided to create. Sometimes it's the 1st of January, sometimes it can be the 23rd of June if you want. The fact is that if you spend the money, you will get the tax rebate, which is linked. The day you will get the paper from the tax authority, which will say you need to pay X taxes. You know what I mean? And this time it won't be taxes; it will be a rebate. You know, and so of course, it can be in some cases quite long, because if you start to work on 1st of January, but your fiscal year is 1 year, then you will have to wait to the next 1st of January to send the paper, to get the money back, the paper back from the tax authority, and this can last 12 months, more than 12 months since the first spend. But the fact is that, to answer to your second question, yes, you can find the money, you can finance the money in France, and you can get the money from banks in France simply by showing the paper. This is what Ilan said, and maybe you can give us details about how you worked.
Yeah, we are very lucky because we apply in September. We have the letter in early October, so 1 month. And so all the expenses from October, November, December are already in the tax credit, and we will be paid in, I don't know, 1 month. So it's very, very quick, and it's 1 day of accounting. My accounting is very good. So in 1 day we make all the papers. And that's very useful because we are very linked with French bank like Cofficine, Cofi Loisir or IFSIC, and they can make all the bank cash back for the trip. So when you apply, you have, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 million, you apply to the bank and you have the cash flow. So it's very easy, quick, and yeah, totally good.
The other thing I'll say is that the French banks we're working with, the interest rate is much lower, maybe even more than half of what we would see in the States as far as gapping the funds. And while you say it's kind of a long time, there's rebates in the US that are far longer. So for us, it's also a multi-year project. So there's one round that we're not needing to gap and rolling that back in, and then another year that we will. And so, yeah, I think the interest rate is another huge point here, and so the French banks that Ilan has mentioned are already established, already set for that, and yeah, we don't have the loan shark rates that we have in the States.
Yeah. And sorry, you can create your own SPV in France, and in France the first year of your SPV, you can choose the date of your fiscal year anniversary, so it can go quicker.
Just ask your question in the microphone, please.
Okay, I'm sorry. So let's just, for the sake of conversation, because I like round numbers, 10 million euros is the rebate. What percentage of the 10 million would the French banks lend against? 95%, 98%, 60%? What's the typically?
Ilan, you want to answer?
Yeah, mainly it's 19 to 95 because they take a little guarantee. So you have, yeah, all the amount. If you are very smart, you have all the amount, because if you play with the tax rebate coming back in 6 months or less, so you have, yeah, you pay the guarantee and you have all the money.
You want to speak about what percent interest?
Yeah. No.
And the percent interest is what we've been seeing between 4 and 6%. Whereas we've gotten the exact same quotes from U.S. companies, and it's 10 to, well, it can be 10 to 18%.
Is there another question? Did you understand everything? Really? So we are not wrong? Ah, there's one.
I'm going to make one up for the sake of keeping it going. First, thank you, sir, because getting specific numbers helps. Seminars are great, sometimes a bit vague. They inspire, but they leave us sometimes with more questions than not. I think what's important here, you're offering something great. We need someone to assist us to do that. Within this Film France community, are you allowed to directly point us to our co-producers with a list or not? Is there a certain rule on how you can assist us to get us to the right point person?
Laurie will answer to this question, but I would simply say that our mission is, first, we are a state-funded organization, of course, so we have to be ethically totally correct. You know, we have to be really, and on the other side, our mission is to help foreign producers to work in France and work with France. So we provide the right information, and regarding your partners, Laurie will answer to your question.
Yes, we have a special PSC, French PSC database, okay, on Film France website online. It's free, it's a public one, and you can choose, because there are some PSC specialized, it depends on the country, so you can choose. A PSC is a production services company. Yeah, it's not the same as a co-producer, because in France, you have two ways of producing. Through a co-production, okay, so you share the artistic rights, and it's kind of artistical project. And you have the trip as France, as a production services company. So the US producer have the rights, and he choose a French PSC in order to organize all the shooting and to apply for the trip. And we have a special, a very big French PSC database online.
Thank you. I just started my business half a year ago, and I made this documentary, which is called Logion 100, with 4.5 hours. And I'm planning to make my first feature film. And I just want to tell you that I need some help, because I have no experience apart 40 years of filmmaking and making over 23 films. But that's the first one I'm going to public. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you for this. I think you will find here among our audience, but among all the people on this stand as well, people will be interested by answering to your question. And of course, if you want to make your film in France, the Film France team will answer to all your questions to help you to find the right way of doing this.
Let's set up a meeting, okay? Yeah.
Hi, I'm sorry I'm a latecomer, and you probably answered this question already, but I'm assuming that's for France productions and co-productions, but within a point system probably, and if you have already answered that question, I'll ask you later afterwards. But also another question would be, it seems like a great cushion to have a 40% rebate for productions, and probably great to mitigate risk or use that as a collateral for French equity investments maybe. Is there such a thing that is established in France where you can go to private equity to fund French movies? And is there a tax system that is incentive for them?
Yeah, the fact is that in France, as Laurie said, because this is really important, you have two ways of working. You can, how would I say, you can do the film, which is a non-French film, and use your French partner as a production service company, which basically is you make it a maker, only a maker. He has no rights, and maybe is only doing what you want to do. And in this case, you can get the tax rebate for international production. Or the other way, which is used a lot, in fact, is to make an official co-production with France. Making an official co-production with France makes the film that you're making French, or at least a little bit French. And in this case, you can have access to a lot of fundings, schemes, helps from the regions, and you get, how would I say, you are more attractive for the TV channels, because you know that in France the French TV channels have to invest a bit of their revenue in French production. So really what you can, if you decide to choose the second way, which is the co-production, if you decide this, then everything is changing. What we are talking about this morning is really the first one, is the way to work as a non-French producer with a French production service company. But for the first, for the second way, which is an official co-production, we are organizing another session on Monday morning, and we will be with Michel Plazanet from the CNC. The CNC is the National Film Board, and is going to talk about the French co-production schemes and about Aide au Cinemas du Monde, which is a really precise scheme dedicated to all kind of films, and who are not necessarily official co-productions, but really which is really helpful to create projects. And simply to end this answer, when you are on the official co-production side, when you are working with a French producer, at this moment you enter and you can imagine a private equity coming for the French film. If you are on the tax rebate, simply, of course, you can have private equity, but this is outside the French system. This is and you can find French investors who will invest, but it will remain a non-French film. I don't know if I was clear.
If I can, explain. Well, with Robert, we are more than a production service company and a producer. We are very linked because we are engaged for a big, long time for feature film with a lot of problems, happiness also. And when we decide to apply to the trip, we also look to the French funds, the regional fund, the local funds. But the problem is that if you apply to a local fund, the CNC, you have a lot of time because you have only you have only 4 or 5 sessions to decide. You need to apply with a lot of paper, and you maybe need to wait 1, 2, 3 years to grab all the money. And of course you share your rights, so that's a problem when you have a big IP here to share with a French company. The rights for IP are very important, especially in animation, with a lot of merch, a lot of so we take a look to that, and we choose the trip because it's quick, you have the money very quick, and the application form, it's very simple. You just need to have a point system about the script, about the talents, and it's you can make the grid in 2 hours or 1 hour if you are quicker.
Bravo. Yeah, so
thank you.
What I was describing is how would I say, the way it is working sometimes, but the kind of cooperation between Ilan and Robert is really what we love, because of course they are partners, even if there is one which is officially a production service company and the other one who's an executive producer. And just about the point system, just one thing, because Joanna and Laurie said that it's really easy to get. Basically, just imagine we had the Hunger Games, which qualified. We have Blade Runner 2049, which qualified in VFX, and in animation, the Minions, as an example. It really is open, and you can call us anytime, any day. We will make some kind of pre-screening of the test with you, and simply to say, okay, this works, yes, you will have it, or maybe sometimes, it's gonna be difficult, but if this character is not Mexican but Spanish, which means is European, then you get the points, and we are really here to help you to make everything correct in order to get the rebate. Thank you, thanks a lot.